It's Berlin briefing time, this time from an unusual setting. We're at the Berlin Global Dialogue, where defense professionals and politicians are talking about the next steps ahead in how Europe relates to its partners and foes alike, and how the next steps in getting Europe defense ready can look like. And that's why I'm particularly glad to have here with me the Commissioner for Defense and Space, Andrius Kubilius, and you're also the former Prime Minister of Lithuania with very hands-on experience of what it means to being near Russia. And we have with us Alexandra von Nahmen, the Director for Russian, Ukraine and Eastern Europe for Deutsche Welle. Commissioner, it's a great pleasure talking to you. There's been a lot of debates here in the corridors as well concerning how fit the European Union can get, how fast to get ready for any kind of Russian aggression. And just to set the baseline, I would like to learn from you, what is your expectation? How soon does the European Union have to brace itself for serious aggression by Russia?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot, really, for inviting me in this nice conversation. Second, definitely, defense is clear priority both for European Commission and for, I would say, majority of member states. And things are moving quite fast. And till now, when I'm trying to have some kind of helicopter view, what we did and what is in front of us, till now, from the beginning of this mandate, so it means 10 or 11 months, we were taking care about creation of opportunities for member states to develop their capabilities. Now we need to move into what I call delivery stage, which means contracts, production, procurement, and so on and so on. So, and that is what last week approved roadmap is about. Now, definitely, what we are doing, we have, first of all, to see what are our goals. And goals really is to bring our defense capabilities up to that level which would allow us to defend and to deter possibility of Russian aggression. And this possibility of Russian aggression is very well defined, not by politicians, not by commissioners, but by our intelligence services, which are saying that, during the next several years, or somebody is saying 2 years, somebody is saying 3 or 5 years, Russia can be ready to test Article 5 of NATO. So that demands from us action, very, very clear action, and I hope that we are able to deliver.
You hope, or how certain are you? You've spoken today here also with industry professionals, Mr. Pappberger from Rheinmetall, Germany's largest defense company that's been ramping up capacity almost tenfold, actually more, over the past couple of years. So you say you hope, but how certain are you? Because as a politician, you are also expected to deal with certainties, aren't you?
Certainties are coming from those opportunities which we are building, like financial ones, for example, safe loans, very quick decision process on safe loans, and they will be available from the beginning of next year. There are, forthcoming European defense industrial programs like EDIP, again, which we create in order to help both industries and member states to develop their capabilities. I am quite sure that we shall build what we need to build. But we need to remember that defense in Europe depends very much on member states. We are creating possibilities for member states to develop their defense capabilities. Definitely then it depends on political will in member states, how rapidly they want to develop, how much they are investing into their defense capabilities. Here Germany is really showing very important and very significant example. I would call even inspirational example. And both government and politicians who are finding the ways how to finance, but also industries where I was talking with Rheinmetall, and definitely it's very impressive what they are doing. So I hope that this is, I hope again, well, maybe I will change that word, But really, I would be very happy if that example of Germany would inspire other countries to move, the same direction. And it's coming.
Alexandra, you also know that currency of European hope very well because until just a couple of months ago, you were, of course, our bureau chief in Brussels. What do you read into those words? This is always a question of political will. How is the issue of defense different? And what sense of urgency are you detecting with individual nation states?
Well, I think what we can see, what we have been seeing in the last months and weeks and so on, is really a change of mindset in Europe. Mostly, of course, on the eastern flank with countries such as the Baltic states, but also Germany, Poland. So they know that the Russian threat is real, and that is why they are mobilizing assets. They want to invest a lot of money into the defense in the defense sector. So I think there is a change of mindset. But of course, the Commissioner is right saying that he is hoping that what the European Commission is providing will help, because it's still for the national states to decide what they really want to do. And we just have to remember, I went to an event with the CEO of Rheinmetall yesterday, and he was telling us about the first months after the start of the war, and it took the German government 6 months to come up with the first substantial contract for Rheinmetall. So a lot of time, the war is going on in Ukraine, and then the German government is still thinking what to order. And I think that has really changed. So we see this massive movement push into investing more in the defense sector. And I think that many investors here present at this conference, they have also this feeling that there's now the gold rush, that's the moment to go into the market, because of course it's not considered now anymore like, producing arms is bad for business. On the contrary, we know, and I think most people, at least here at this conference, all of them, of course, understand that it's important to deter Russia, and that is why we need to ramp up weapons production.
You're looking at your work as part of the Russian-Ukrainian service. What impression are you getting on how spot on the assessment of politicians in Europe is on how willing Russia is to move fast towards greater Europe? Of course, it's already has attacked Ukraine.
I mean, what we have seen in the last weeks, the incursions, the Russian jets in the Polish airspace, some 20 drones in the Polish airspace, other incursions, the drones that we have seen over airports in Denmark, probably coming from Russia as well. So I think there is a sense of urgency, a sense that Russia is really testing NATO in principle, and the unity of NATO. And of course, we don't know whether Putin would decide to test NATO more in 4 years. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen in 10 years. So I think the understanding is now there, even among countries who are further away from the eastern flank, that they need to be ready.
The EU always moves fast when there is acute urgency. We saw that in the pandemic. I think that's the last example, but also during the banking crisis, swift movement was possible. Can you just describe what kind of sense of urgency you are seeing among EU states, and whether you feel that that could transition into faster action and actually giving up more national interest, particularly when it comes to then trying to build national champions in the defense industry rather than throwing all your money together?
Well, yeah, it's a very broad question. It's perhaps essence of everything what we are trying to do. Well, first of all, what I would say, I see quite a radical change during this year. I mean, I remember very well what was in the more psychological attitude towards defense just last year at this time, when I was nominated to become a commissioner. Now, there was a lot of skepticism why commission needs to have commissioner. It was quite a calm attitude towards how the war is going on. Now, really, attitude is totally different. It's not because me, but because, perhaps...
Those drones over Poland and...
Yeah, but even, I remember for me it was some kind of, big trigger in my mindset, not changing, but, something, what what rings
The
in
loans, maybe the money.
no. For me, it was very, very important. Back last November, you almost remember that moment, 1 year ago, when German intelligence service, head of intelligence service, publicly said that their prediction is that during the next 3 or 5 years, Russia will be ready. So for me, that was, something. Well, if intelligence services are speaking that, no, this is totally different from what we as politicians are speaking.
Well, we also now have the German chancellor saying that we're neither at peace nor at war.
Yeah, so that is, what started to change. And, and of course, then we built, all those opportunities quite rapidly. For example, safe loans are something like unique in its, how rapidly we made all the decisions, and now money will come at the beginning of next year. So that is for sure is moving ahead. Now, to evaluate what is a reaction or what is the readiness of member states to, in different regions. Of course, this is not so easy. There are opinion polls which are showing that public really is very much asking both EU and member states to spend more of their attention on defense. People are worried about security and defense. And also what I know, despite the fact that everybody has some kind of, view that, okay, frontier countries, they are very keen, but Mediterraneans are, looking that this danger is far away. I was quite positively surprised when we, got 19 countries signing safe loans, more than we were, having in our, loan facility, more than 150. And then when we looked which countries are asking the biggest amounts of money, so after Poland, there were such countries like Italy, like France, which means that, the wish and will to invest into defense is not just in the frontier countries. And now with Russian provocations, and especially with this, drone provocation, everybody started to understand that such kind of provocation is very easy to implement, not only in the frontier countries, not only even in Denmark or so on, because you can launch the same drone from, for example, from Shadow Fleet ship, which is going around Europe near the coast, and that is why nobody is safe, from such kind of provocation. So now talking about what we need to have in mind, also those threats. Sometimes I feel that we're still not grasping all the possible scenarios. When we are building our capabilities, usually we are looking that Putin will can start, when we're talking he will test Article 5, that he will start real traditional war. Tanks rolling through the borders of Baltic countries, artillery and so on. But in my opinion, we need to be ready that simply Putin will start to increase the volume of those provocations, which he is doing now. Now we got 20 drones. What will happen if he will send 100 drones? Well, one thing is we need to really to ramp up our capabilities to detect and to destroy those drones. What those provocations have shown, we have shortage of those capabilities. But second, we also need to think about our political reactions. How we shall react, how we shall, really to show that, there are some red lines which we shall not allow, Putin to cross. So there are a lot of questions and not sometimes still, we lack some answers.
Well, but it took NATO countries a bit to come up with the common conclusion after those recent incursions. It was a bit of back and forth with Poland saying we should shoot down, others saying, well, it's we have a special kind of rules how to react, and there really needs to be a direct risk. And it took a while for Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, to come up with the explanation or declaration there. So.
I mean,
the unity is maybe not there.
No. It's unity is really is perhaps all the threats always makes unity much stronger. I'm not here to complain about that, but what is important also those provocations have shown what still we need to do with, how to say, with our, I would call, with our mentality. Because for me, the question mark was big one. Why, when drones started to appear in Ukraine, war, 2 years ago, back in 2023, and started to appear on a massive scale, I don't want to criticize anybody, but we in our European countries, frontier countries, and deeper into the continent, we were not preparing ourselves for possibilities that those drones will be used as provocation. What those provocations have shown, really, we do not have capabilities to detect drones, and we do not have capabilities to destroy drones, in a cost-effective way, not with a missile of 1 million value.
Or 4. But the immediate response then was, and not all of those drones that were cited were clearly linked to Russia. Those above Poland definitely were.
Yeah.
But the other ones, some are still unclear, those above Denmark, for instance. So the announcement that then came from Ursula von der Leyen was, we will build a drone wall. What is that?
Yeah, that's what I'm smiling because really we were feeling that, the same question from everywhere. What is that wall, what you will build? Is that wall, will stop all 100% of drones? The title came maybe, inspiration came for the title. The content was very clear, but the title, inspiration came from our trip, joint trip with Commission President through all the frontier countries when we were flying from one country to another, Finland and Baltic states and Poland. And that title was used before that by those countries. Because they're building this, again, we're changing titles very easily. Now we changed drone wall into European Drone Defense Initiative. Because we saw that, the wall brings some kind of confusion.
It's a bit vague.
It is. It's building. It's Europe defending itself through words. But what will it mean in concrete?
Yeah, in concrete, I can tell you what does it mean. I was saying what we see as, what those provocations have shown, what kind of deficit of capabilities we have. We are not able to detect drones, so it means that we need to build capabilities to detect drones. That demands either new and special type of radars, because traditional radars which we have, for air defense and missile defense, they are very good to see, and to detect aircraft or missile. But since, drones are small and flying low, they cannot see. So we need either to have special radars or to have what is called acoustic sensors. And for example, Latvians now are building the whole system of acoustic sensors, very well advanced. Why Latvians are advanced? Because in the difference from other countries, they got the first Russian drone last year in September. And everywhere reaction was the same, that, in some way political reactions, that,
Yes.
you do not have capabilities to detect, you need to build something. So now we see that this is needed really for all the countries. Second, what we need to have good system for management of information data. When you are getting, drones, you need to put them into very, very well-developed digital system. Again, we can learn a lot from Ukrainians, both on detection and all on management of information. And third one, you need to have capabilities, what I call cost-effective capabilities to destroy drones. And here are, either drone interceptors or electronic warfare means or traditional Zenit, artillery, and so on. That is what we need to develop. And it's possible to develop not with long delays. The costs are manageable. Again, those 4 countries like Poland and 3 Baltic states, they sent me a letter back in June or July notifying what kind of assistance they want. And in among all other issues of this, Eastern Flank Watch, they asked also assistance for drone wall, and the cost was around of 1 billion euros.
Now, the European Union it seems fairly united in describing the problem. There's the odd one out, for instance, Spain, which doesn't want to sign up to the 5% goal of NATO, rather prioritize its own national social needs. There's very high debt within the European Union, and against this, Germany is now the country that has essentially been given by its legislators a blank check when it comes to defense spending. So can you formulate for me what the expectations are towards Germany? How much will it matter what Friedrich Merz is willing to earmark to support his European friends?
Well, first of all, of course, Germany is showing a very great example, as I said, inspiration example, how the countries need to take care about their own defense. So Germany here is really very well advancing. Now, what is important really is that we should see also European problems. And that is where perhaps Germany again can show some kind of leadership. Not just, finance.
Does that mean money?
Not money I have in mind. Because, it's, first of all, on financial side, well, we know Spain, but all other countries, they pledge that they will spend 3.5% till 2035 on defense. If you will take those 3.5% more or less as the goal which will be implemented, then we can, till 2035, the defense spending in total during those 10 years will be around of almost 7 trillion euros. So amounts of money are quite big. Not all the money in defense, as you know, some money are going into pensions, into salaries, but more or less 50% we can calculate that will go into equipment. So more than 3 trillion can go into equipment. That is what really can show us a good perspective what we are able to do. But those money are coming from national defense spending, not from EU budget. EU budget is allocations in the forthcoming EU budget will be something like 100 times less than national defense spending. So everything in defense depends very much on national level. And of course, it's good that we shall increase in MFF, by 5 times defense spending, but nevertheless, the whole amount will be 110 times less than it will be on national level. Now, what is the problem and why I'm saying that, there is a need of very strong leadership? Because when I'm looking what we need to do, taking care about our defense, so first of all, we need really to take care about defense capabilities. What member states now are doing, investing into procuring capabilities, what they need to have. But second issue is that we need to take care about defense industry and about European level of problems of defense industry, which is very much fragmented. And that is where still I see that really there is a need of some kind of leadership in order to bring all Europeans to understand that problem and to find the ways how we can solve the problems.
I think it's a big problem, the fragmentation. Like, for instance, we have 19 main battle tanks in Europe. The US, of course, has only 1. We're talking about 23 infantry fighting vehicles, different types in Europe. There are 3 in the US, so that's definitely something that should be on our agenda. But the problem is how to convince all the countries, members of the European Union, to come together and to focus on standards in the European Union. And I'm not sure whether Germany alone can, be the example and the role model, because their cooperation with France, for instance, when we talk about this ground combat vehicles that they are working on, is not advancing at all.
Or FCAS, the Future Combat Air System, that is also being very hotly debated. That is. What do you expect to happen there? Do you expect to see an outcome of cooperations?
No. First of all, we need to understand that this fragmentation of the industry in some way is the consequence of defense policies being very much, national sovereignty and so on. From one side, this is good, and this is, treaty language. From another side, we need to understand that it brings this fragmentation. So in some way, fragmentation demands political attention. And that is why I'm saying that, it will be good if Germany, being such a powerful force and in defense, should raise that issue. First of all, we need to start to speak about that. Draghi in his report was very clear, If we are not solving those problems, so we are spending our national defense money very much outside of European defense industry. Because our industry, being fragmented, is not able, to use power of the whole big single market to develop their competitiveness. We're losing global competitiveness. And that is why national governments are going to buy equipment somewhere outside from Europe. So we have some kind of this, vicious circle. I will not develop, go more deeply into that, but I see that as an issue which demands special attention. And that is what, we can look, how we can, not, first of all, not to forget that program when we are investing into development of our defense capabilities, when we are, looking into national defense industries, we need to remember that there are also European level structural programs of defense industry. And those problems needs to be resolved. And that is, again, Commission alone will not resolve all of them. We can, incentivize member states to go for joint procurement. We can incentivize member states to go for more of European procurement. But that should be also the problem which is well understood by member states.
Exactly. I mean, the issue of describing the problem, you're not going to find anybody who says that the current system is actually delivering, but you run into a lot of leaders who insist that it is through their own national industry, not through a joint European industry necessary. Now, the European Union has almost like a tradition of pressing the snooze button on urgent issues. We've seen this in many areas, and then along comes a crisis like the pandemic, and suddenly things are possible, like joint debt in that case. Let's just look even further. We have the drone issue now, which became acute. The EU had pressed the snooze button on that one. Now drones are above European skies, so there's also public attention on that issue. You're also the Commissioner for Space. China and the US are spending a lot of money to be dominant once that becomes an area of conflict. Where are the Europeans there? And are the Europeans at all able to jump to the next problem, or are they always stuck with the current problem?
Well, first
I'll ask you the same question.
First of all, I would, try to find a way how not to be so critical on ourselves, because
that's your job.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, not on me or not on my, but in general on how we Europeans are behaving. I will remind Jean Monnet, a very famous saying, at the very beginning of when Rome Treaty was signed. He predicted that European community will be created during the crisis, and what will be created during the crisis in terms of institutional arrangements or some new programs, that will be community itself. So and we are going that way all the time. There was financial crisis, we created banking union. There was refugee crisis, we created Frontex. Pandemic was, we created RRF, started to borrow money.
But do you want to continue that too? And when Russia attacked, we got defense.
Maybe what is now really we need to understand that the war against Ukraine is some kind of crisis for the whole Europe, and that is why we started to build European defense, because we see what Putin can do. So that's again, it's a consequence of that crisis which we are facing now. Now on space. Again, we should remember that in space we have really very good achievements. Yes, we are losing to Elon Musk, in launching, but for example, navigation and positioning system Galileo, in its parameters is much better than American system GPS. No, we are more precise, and so on and so on. The same with Copernicus on Earth observation. The best world-class system, in the world.
Can we intercept rockets in space?
That's a different, different topic. But I'm saying that we are able to do something good. Now, really, what we see, we lost, competition for launching. We are trying to catch up. But besides that, for example, yes, we do not have for time being European Starlink, but we are building IRIS² for secure satellite communication. We shall have that in 2030. Now, I hope that we shall be successful in creation of a similar service, so-called govs.com, where we shall try to combine national assets in this secure satellite communication. We're building, we're ready, we're planning. We shall see if member states will agree, but we're planning also to build so-called Earth observation governmental service, which is really for geo-intelligent data from space, for targeting and so on and so on. We do not have such a system at the moment, and we're depending in some way on American assistance if we need those data, but we're building. So we're building our capabilities here, and that's why I'm saying let's be critical on ourselves, but let's see also that we're able to do something, and especially here, why I'm talking with some kind of optimism about space, because in space, since my portfolio is double, space and defense, in space I see inspiration that we as Europeans, we can do really big projects, very well technologically advanced, with all the EU member states participating in the development of those projects, which is not the case with defense. So in defense, we need to learn something from space achievements. That's my point.
I would say I'm a bit skeptical that we can do all of that at once. The Eastern Flank Watch, the drone wall, the air defense system or shield for Europe, and then being more advanced in space. So I would say all of that, maybe it's good to start all of that together, but at what speed? And I think it is very telling that we don't have enough ammunition, we don't have enough tanks in Europe, and I think that should be, I guess, what we need to focus on, even though I, of course, understand that you need to be active on all these fields, but yeah. However, I also just wanted to add that I think it's interesting what I heard from the CEO of Rheinmetall yesterday, that he was quite confident that the capabilities that we are also trying to get from the US, we have been trying to be supplied by them in many different areas, that we are also not so bad at it anymore. We are producing them as well. So I thought he was very confident that we are getting better at this, at least when we talk about conventional arms.
So I take the message from both of you that we will be ready because we have to. But I'll leave the final word to you, commissioners.
Oh, I was trying to tell the story that, again, with Rheinmetall or, in general, we need to see what we managed to achieve. Of course, a lot of problems, but for example, back in 2022, it appeared when we promised that we shall give to Ukraine 1 million rounds of ammunition, it appears that we are able to produce only 300,000. Now we shall end this year with 2 million. So we are moving ahead, and that brings, for me, some kind of rational optimism that we can do and we shall do.
So there is hope that we will be ready.
That was it. Commissioner Kubilius, thank you so much for joining us here on this special edition of Berlin Briefing. Thank you, Alexandra, as well. And that is your full briefing on where the European Union stands in getting defense ready against the increasing threat that Russia is posing in what many already describe as a hybrid conflict. That was Berlin Briefing for this week, but don't forget to check out our newsletter that you can check into on a weekly basis, and we'll leave it there for today.